Burnin love. By writing is fun, but you suck. I woke up with my throat scratchy and burning. Dehydrated, I thought, which could only mean one thing. I was hungover. I groaned and rolled over in bed, straining to remember if I had embarrassed myself last night. Considering my complete inability to remember anything, that was likely. I reached over to my nightstand, searching for a glass of water. One was there, but I clumsily knocked it over. Muttering, I hopped out of bed to clean it up. I walked into the kitchen a moment later and looked to the oven for the time. Its electronic numbers blinked at me. 99.99. I stared back at them, hypnotized. Well, look who woke up after all. My wife's voice startled me from my trance. She was standing in the corner by the fridge, and I must have walked right by her. What time is it? I asked, squinting at the gray light coming from the windows. As if in answer, the sound of a glass shattering on the floor rang out. I looked in the direction of the crash, where my wife stood. She glanced down at the broken glass on the floor, watching the water that had been in it a moment ago spread everywhere. Perfect, she said. I began to walk over toward her. It's okay, I started, but she cut me off. You can't fix this. I knew she wasn't talking about the glass. Tears stung my eyes, and I realized how hot my cheeks were. They were burning. I can change, I offered. The soft voice of our 2-year-old son came from the side. Apparently he had made his way into the room to investigate. Change what, Daddy? A light green sippy cup dangled from his tiny hand for a moment, then it fell to the floor. Water began spilling out. A small smile crept onto my face in spite of everything. We all spilled our cups today, I said. 3 peas in a pod. As I spoke, my throat burned again. The thought of water reminded me how thirsty I was, and suddenly that was all that mattered. I walked up to the sink and violently turned the handle. Nothing came out of the faucet. I tried twice, 3 times. Nothing. There isn't enough water in hell or earth to put out these flames, my wife said. We tried. I turned back to them. They were on their hands and knees, each with one arm held out in front of them. They repeatedly poured from an invisible cup, mining the dumping of water on invisible flames. My son smiled at me, his eyes now entirely black. Tiny embers crackled brightly in his dark hair. One night of drinking and a single cigarette in bed wouldn't kill you, would it, Dad? He asked me, speaking with a vocabulary impossible for his years. He started laughing, and after a moment, my wife joined him.